a lot of takeaways from the midterms. President Biden made some comments, and he stuck his head out the sand, feeling better than what the predictions were. You know, they were predicting it was going to be a what do they call it? A red wave. It was going to be all of these Republican victories, and there were Republican victories. Definitely were Republican victories, but it was not the wipeout that mainstream media was calling for. According to the narrative, I mean, Republicans, I think, had a disastrous night. Really, a lot of those election denying Trump supporters got the got the shaft. Republicans got to do a lot of soul searching, but at the same time, they may take the House, and there is a possibility that they can flip the Senate. But it's not going to be by these huge, crazy margins that they were expected. Not going to be by those large margins that they were predicting. Democrats battled some tough circumstances and political history to dilute the dreaded red wave, meaning that Republicans were going to have a lot of victories. Now, the relief could, I don't know, it's still up in the air. Still a tough road ahead for President Biden, no matter how you slice this. The power of the pre-election expectations fueled the national conversation, right? It really had the media changing their narrative. I mean, all these polls were saying this. Polls were saying that. How's it going? Polls were saying all this kind of stuff, and the polls were wrong. The polls were wrong. It ain't the first time the polls were wrong. I'm just saying. But the polls were wrong. So Joe Biden made his first public comments on the outcome of the midterm elections. And his takeaway is that voters were clear that they're still frustrated with inflation. True. Also with crime and other issues. He says that he gets it. We will see. We will see. A lot of records set. Democrat Wes Moore won the gubernatorial race here in Maryland. He's going to become the new governor. And, it's record setting, trend setting. He smashed. Look, I told y'all he was going to smash Dan Cox. I told y'all that. And he smashed him. Like, it wasn't even close. Was not even close. He is going to be the first African-American governor of Maryland. So that's big. That's big. Governor Hogan congratulated Moore on his victory. And Dan Cox, of course, did not concede. Of course, in true Trump supporter fashion, he could not concede, even though he got his ass whooped. He got his ass whooped. How's it going? How's it going, Tracy? He can do whatever he wants to do. But that was the initial thing, right? Now, I'm surprised that eventually Cox did concede. Wednesday, conceded the race. In a tweet, Cox said that in part, please join me in praying for him and his family and that our state will be free. So he made that. I thought he was going to do it last night, but, whatever. All right, it's all good. So he's saying on Instagram, I pray he brings change. Seriously, the city needs real leaders. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Maryland, Baltimore, everything needs leaders. And we have not had that. Of course, Moore received some high-profile endorsements. Former President Obama, Oprah. It was a whole, how's it going? A whole bunch of endorsements for him. Been a long, hard race, but that is over, and I think that Maryland is going to be better off. I think Maryland is going to be better off. We're going to see. But like I said, there were a lot of firsts in states across this country. Women, LGBTQ, and of course, Black candidates were elected to congressional seats and governor's offices as part of a new generation of political leaders. We getting some new folks in there. People have been talking about we need new blood. We getting some new folks. Firsts across this country. The first openly lesbian governor. We got that. Of course, I talked about Maryland getting its first Black governor. Vermont's first woman in Congress. Candidates, as I said, also smashed records. 12 women will be governors, hitting double digits for the first time. Ladies is representing. Now, needless to say, the more things change, the more they stay the same. In Georgia, it's probably going to be another month before we know who's going to control the Senate. That's the way it looks. Georgia's closely watched race between Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker will go to a December 6th runoff because neither candidate took more than half the vote. Senator Warnock came close, but, he didn't get that 50%. And as we've talked about many times, in Georgia, you got to have 50% or they send you to a runoff. Democrats or Republicans would need to win both of the other pending Senate races in Arizona and Nevada to control the chamber without winning in Georgia. So we're going to see what happens there. Arkansas has never had a female governor or lieutenant governor. Last night, they got both. Yeah, last night they got both. Voters elevated former White House press secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders to the state's top role. And this is a position that her father held from 1996 to 2007. Arkansas voters also picked the current attorney general to serve as the lieutenant governor. She will become the first woman to serve as the state's number 2, especially, she's essentially going to swap roles with the current lieutenant governor who was elected attorney general. Interesting, right? All of those are Republicans, by the way. You were wondering. Sanders faced a Democrat, Chris Jones, who was a nuclear engineer who would have become Arkansas's first Black governor. Did not happen. Today, he congratulated Sanders, saying that history was made. Sarah's election has shown women, including my little girls, that being a woman is no longer a barrier to becoming governor of our state. Gracious. Sean Patrick Maloney lost his race. He was the chairman of the DCCC, departing after speaking to reporters this morning. So the Democrats have lost stuff. Let me say that. First time since 1993, there are not going to be any Maloneys in Congress. So took a setback. Comes from a big family, but he lost. He lost. And like I said, there were a lot of surprises. A lot of surprises that happened. Of course, Pennsylvania rejected Dr. Oz, thankfully, rejecting Dr. Oz. This was Trump's pick. And you saw many of Trump's picks were bad selections. And the people rejected those selections in many cases. Not all, but many cases. In many cases, Americans rejected these election-denying, Trump-kissing, backside politicians. Not in all cases. J.D. Vance won in Ohio. That surprised me. Beto O'Rourke, who I thought ran a pretty good race in Texas, but he got smashed. Yeah, he lost that. He lost that. Winner of Alaska's U.S. Senate contest, still unclear. Whoever it's going to be, it's going to be a Republican. So we'll see about that. Who that is going to be. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton won re-election Tuesday, but aside from the fact, despite the fact that he has all of these controversies, including disciplinary action by the state bar, an FBI investigation, and a long-delayed trial on securities fraud charges. Only in America can somebody with this amount of controversy be the Attorney General. Let me say this again. Ken Paxton, Attorney General, won re-election, has been disciplined by the state bar. He's an attorney. He's under FBI investigation and is postponing a trial on securities fraud. I mean, it's crazy. Pennsylvania, Summer Lee has made history as Pennsylvania's first Black congresswoman with her election. Well, that is big. Lee has served as a state representative since 2019. Speaking to supporters at a watch party, she called their event a scaled down thing because we've been through it. We had to go through ugly to get here, she said. There is a reason why there has never been a Black woman ever serving in Congress in the history of Pennsylvania. So I can assure you they're not going to let up on us. They're not going to relent, she said. She defeated Republican Mike Doyle, who conceded last night. Oh, yeah. Speaking of Pennsylvania, Doug Mastriano, the Republican nominee, he was a Trump support and endorsed. Yeah, he got the shaft. He got the shaft. Democrat Josh Shapiro defeated him. Has not conceded as of yet. I mean, it's all good. You know what I mean? It's all good. We talked about Dr. Oz losing to John Fetterman. Yeah. It's been a very interesting time. Abortion rights in Kentucky. The advocates for that saw a clear vindication in that the state's rejection of an amendment that would have provided legal protections for a ban on abortions in Kentucky. Yeah. Kentuckians said, no, we ain't having that. We ain't having that. We talked about New York. I guess there are a couple other New York things that we can go into. Michigan's, we talk about abortion. Michigan, California, and Vermont voters have enshrined the right to abortion in their state constitutions as of yesterday. And in Kentucky, which is a highly heavy Republican state, voters declared there is no state constitutional right to abortion. Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot, so much. Of course, we're not going to touch on every single race. In Georgia, Stacey Abrams did not win, was not victorious. Sad day for Georgia. sad day, but Brian Kemp victorious again. Talk about, I mean, you get what you get. You get what you wanted. Okay, that's what y'all want. I just don't think enough of us came out, voted in Georgia. It doesn't seem like it. We talked about Fetterman in Pennsylvania, J.D. Vance in Ohio, Mike Bennett in Colorado, Ted Budd in North Carolina, Greg Abbott victorious in Texas. We talked a little bit about that. Ron DeSantis victorious in Florida. Tony Evers in Wisconsin, all victorious. Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan. People were, the Republicans were acting like, oh, she was going to lose. So she won her reelection bid. And all right, so I see BJ. What Stacey? I mean, there's no excuse. She lost the race. Kemp won. Okay, yes, I do owe you $5. You're right about that. Before you even bring it up, no excuse. I mean, you win, you lose. I mean, J.D. Vance, I didn't think he was going to win, but he won. So I mean, DeSantis, Rubio, all victorious in their re-elections. So a lot of takeaways. For this midterm. Democrat Hobbs is leading the loudmouth Republican Kari Lake in Arizona. We're going to see who wins that gubernatorial jousting. Very interesting, because I mean she's been more Trump than Trump. More election denial. What do you mean election denial? I've said the winners. I've said the losers. People that I didn't want to win, they won. I still said it. BJ? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? And so who else? There's been a whole lot. There's been a whole lot. So many races, and the big takeaway. The big takeaway is that I think even Republicans are showing that they're tired of Trump. They are tired of the election deniers. They are tired of that. I think that the Republican Party took their first big step towards moving away from Donald Trump. I think so. Stacey Abrams is USA #1 election denier. No, she is not. I don't know what you have against Stacey Abrams, Barnabas. I don't know. What do you have? Maybe you got something for her. Maybe you like her. Are you feeling her? You wanted to hit that? I don't know. I think she made like girls, but maybe you find her attractive because you like talking about her a whole lot. On the ballot here in Maryland and also in Missouri, voters approved recreational marijuana. What's going on, Frank? Voters approved recreational marijuana in Maryland and Missouri, but rejected it in 2 other states, signaling support gradually growing for the legalization even in conservative parts of the country. The results mean that 21 states have now approved marijuana recreational use. Arkansas and North Dakota voters rejected legalization. Those proposals were on the ballot, but so a similar initiative went before voters in South Dakota, but as of today, it was too early to call. Advocates said that the results send a message to lawmakers in Washington about support for the country, around the country, for the legalization of marijuana. So It is going to be, Frankie, it's not yet, but it is going to be. Voters have voted for it. A growing number of voters recognize that cannabis policy reform is in the best interest of public health and safety, criminal justice reform, social equity, and personal freedom. So the state voting follows moves by President Biden towards decriminalizing marijuana. Biden last month announced that he was pardoning thousands of Americans convicted of simple possession of marijuana under federal law. So I think this is a good thing. I think this is a good thing. How much recreational use? It depends on a lot. It depends on a lot. It just got voted on yesterday. They haven't outlined everything yet. Goodness gracious, you ready to smoke already? So we're talking about Maryland. Maryland is going to make changes in criminal law and create automatic expungements of past marijuana possession convictions. So that is a good thing. That is a good thing. Heading into the election, recreational marijuana was legal in 19 states, and polls have shown opposition to legalization softening. All of the states with recreational marijuana on the ballot, except for Maryland, voted for Donald Trump in the 2020 election. So you went to eat what? Oh, that is edibles, right? Okay. I mean, do what you do. You know what I mean? So that is interesting. 5 states that held votes on Tuesday have legal medical marijuana programs. That includes Arkansas, which in 2016 became the first Bible Belt state to approve medical marijuana. So the state's dispensaries opened in 2019. This is in Arkansas. And more than 91,000 patients have cards to legally buy marijuana for medical conditions. Yeah, so that is the voters have spoken. The voters have spoken so much. So many takeaways from last night. And hopefully you participated. Hopefully you understand, especially in these local elections, how important it is. Now, Democrats had a strong night. Republicans, had a decent night, but it wasn't nearly what they were calling for. Wasn't nearly what they were calling for. But that's what it is. Republican concedes the race in the New Mexico House seat. There's been a lot of conceding, which is in itself, it shouldn't be a big deal, right? It shouldn't even be a big deal. But because you have somebody in the forefront like Trump, who doesn't want to accept when he loses. I mean, you win some, you lose some, you live to fight another day. And that's what Pops told Craig in Friday, and it's true. It is true. So another concession just happening in the New Mexico race. Republicans are moving closer towards a House win, but they're not there yet. They are not there yet, and I think that is a good thing. Let's see. Let's get all these votes counted, and let's work through this thing, and then let's see what's going on after that. Just tuning in, it's your man Diamond K in here, of course, the Diamond K Show on fire-tv.com. Let's do this. Take a quick break, and then we're going to come back, and I want to talk about Brittney Griner. Biden hopes that Putin will negotiate her release, but things are looking really down for her. Really down. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be back with more of the program after this.